Hi everybody, it's Stephanie from My Wine Tribe, and today we're here to talk about wine terminology. There's a couple words you probably need to know if you're going to talk about wines that you like. And unlike me, I'll hear people talking about things and then I'll start using the terms, and if I don't know what I'm talking about, then I don't know how to order wines. And in my younger years, that was an issue. So hopefully this will alleviate that for you. The first term that I think you need to really get clear on is oak. So oak is important for two reasons. One, when winemakers age their wine, they do so in some type of a vessel. Typically, it's either stainless steel, which is particularly used for white wines, or oak, which is used for certain white wines as well as many red wines. Oak gives you a flavor of a number of different things, and the way to envision what that flavor is pretend you have a big blender, and in your blender you can put some wood chips, maybe a stick of butter, how about a couple toasted marshmallows, a couple drops of vanilla, and you whir it all up, and that's what oak tastes like. So it gives you some toasty bits, it gives you a little bit of wood, it gives you softer, caramely, vanilla-y, buttery flavors. And if you want to say like, wow, that wine's a little too oaky for me, then that might mean it's either too buttery on the white wine side or too woodsy on the red wine side. Okay, so that is the 101 on oak. Okay, let's talk next about acid, because acid is really important. It's a natural component of the winemaking process. But if wines don't have enough acid, then they're just flabby on your tongue. They don't really pair well with foods, and they just kind of sit there like a wet blanket. But if wines have too much acid, then you get that sort of puckery, like face that can be a little much. So one way to think about acids in wine is just to think about acids in different kind of citrus fruit. So the acid in an orange is really different than an acid in a grapefruit or a lime. Oop, that was a lemon. Or a lime. So, I mean, this is kind of your scale. So acid in an orange, really easy to deal with, right? But sometimes if you're just drinking straight lime juice, that's too acidic. So think about citrus when you think about acid. And remember that it is an important component, but you don't want too little or too much. So there you go, that's acids. Tannins are an important thing to know about, particularly as it relates to red wine. Tannins are a naturally occurring compound that comes from grape skins, seeds, and stems. So when winemakers keep the juice in contact with the stems or the seeds, the wine becomes more tannic. It's important to understand what it means on your mouth and what the sensation is. And so one way to do that is get 3 bags of tea, 3 mugs, and some boiling water, and steep 1 bag of tea for 2 minutes. Try that. Steep another bag of tea for 4 minutes. What's that like? Steep the 3rd bag of tea for 8 minutes, and in that 8-minute steeped tea, you're going to experience tannins, because you're going to get some sort of astringent, maybe a little bitter, drying sensation in your mouth, and that's very similar to a tannic red wine. So that's tannins. Moving on, I'm just going to start free-forming here and coming up with a couple other things you should think about. When people talk about a silky texture or lush, that typically means that you don't have a highly tannic or highly acidic wine. It's kind of round on the palate. Again, doesn't make you make a face, not super lemony or drying. That's what lush and silky means. What is the opposite of sweet wine? It's not sweet wine. It's not bitter wine. It's dry wine. Why is this? I don't know, but when people talk about sweet wines, they do mean like high sugar wines that taste almost candy-like. If you don't like that experience, then you need to ask for a dry wine or a bone dry wine. Yeah, so here's a story. One day, I was with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, and we were wine tasting, and I said, oh, this wine, it has like almost a root beer aftertaste. And the winemaker says, oh, right, so it has a sarsaparilla finish. So I think the thing here, he was very gently trying to guide me to not say aftertaste, but instead say finish. So just a simple little trick. I don't know. It maybe just sounds a little bit more elegant. And sarsaparilla versus root beer is really beside the point. I think the point is, don't say aftertaste, say finish. If you want to. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but these are just tips and tricks, some little guideposts for you on your wine journey. Okay, that's all I got right now. If you have other questions or want to know about other terminology, shoot me a note at mywinetribe@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.